I thought snowboarding in Europe would be just like the US, but boy did I think wrong. It's not. You could end up in a completely different town, ski patrol is not going to save you, and I don't know why, but I started taking 3 hours for my lunch breaks. I'm going to be telling you a few things that I wish I knew before I went snowboarding in Europe. Alright, so the first thing we're going to start off with is the lift systems. The lift systems are completely different. You'll notice it right away as soon as you look at the map. The maps are about the same size. However, the scale is completely different. So you'll be looking at a map thinking, oh, it's the same size as a Utah or Colorado mountain, but it's really 4 times the size with 4 different mountains. I guess in Europe, no one really believes in magnifying glasses. Usually, whenever I go somewhere, East Coast, West Coast, Canada, I end up taking 1 or 2 lifts, make it all the way to the top, and then there's a whole set of trails you can take to get back to the bottom. There's usually like 5 different ways. But in Europe, it's not that at all. So you need to take a few different lifts just to get to the top. And the lifts are quite different. So instead of just taking 1 lift directly to the top, they don't make that. They'll make it a zigzag, so you have to take 3 different lifts to get to the top. Now, some lifts over there might only gain a few hundred feet of elevation, but it crossed the entire mountain. So that's their way of putting in lifts. Now, the runs in Europe are much longer, which ties back to how I was talking about how the map is the same size, but it's much bigger. The runs in Europe look like they're about the same size as a regular Utah, Colorado run, maybe even Vermont run, but then you actually go on it and it's double or triple the size, which did catch me off guard. So what I would say is when you're looking at the map, the runs might be a lot longer than they look, and you're definitely gonna have to take several lifts to get to where you wanna go. So just give yourself plenty of time. Number 2, closing times. This was one that I was not expecting at all. In Europe, the lifts close about 30 minutes before the resort closes, which is standard. However, instead of just taking 1 lift and getting to where you need to be and then go to the base, you might have to take 10 lifts. And that is not an exaggeration. For me, in my case, the resort closed at 4:30. So I decided 2:30 is probably enough time for me to get over to the other side, which was a totally different mountain, but I thought 2 hours was enough. I started working on it, up 1 lift, traverse, up a 2nd lift, traverse, and I kept doing that over and over and over again. Then it was 3:30 and we were not even halfway there. I was thinking, oh, maybe ski patrol's gonna come and tell us which way we gotta go, but nope. They don't do any sweeps at closing time. No one's looking out for you, you're on your own. So I had to ski to the bottom of where I was and I ended up in a different town, which was a 2-hour walk back to where I wanted to be. Luckily, there was a bus that was coming by every 30 minutes or so, but if there wasn't, I might have had to walk back 2 hours to where I needed to be. So definitely be careful about closing times. You might even want to head back around lunchtime. 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, start heading back. So maybe you'll get there by 4 if you're lucky. You should definitely play it safe. Take a couple hours extra than you think you need. Start making your way back to where you have to be. And as long as you give yourself plenty of time, you should be okay. Number 3, the next biggest difference that I didn't realize was the grading scale. So every resort I've been to up until Europe was the same. You start off with green as the easiest, double black diamonds are the hardest. In Europe, it's totally different. So instead of starting with green, you actually start with blue. Blue is the easiest. Next, a red trail's for intermediate riders, so it's right in the middle. After that is for advanced riders, it's single black diamonds. However, there were trails that were orange, similar to a double black diamond, but they were at your own risk in Europe. So yes, there are super hard trails in Europe, but they're at your own risk. Meaning the resort doesn't want you to try it and they don't groom it, but if you do try it, it's up to you. So this caught me off guard. I had to get used to the grading system and knowing that blue is for beginners. Now this grading scale did throw me off for a little bit, but after a couple runs, I was able to get used to it. So just know that blue is the easiest and red is for intermediate riders. Black is for advanced. If you decide to do orange, you're just absolutely mental. I wish you the best of luck. Now, one thing I did notice about the grading system, I don't know who is grading it, but I would go on a blue trail and it would be very difficult, which is supposed to be the easiest. Next run, I would do a red trail, and the red trail was easier than the blue trail. So I don't know how they grade it. I wouldn't say that it's a drastic difference. You would think that the blue trail would be easier, but maybe because it was groomed a certain way, it wasn't as easy. So what I'm trying to say is test out the run first before you decide to go crazy, fast, turning, however you want to do it. Just test out the run first. This way you'll give yourself some peace of mind when you do it the second time. Number 4. I touched on it briefly earlier, but it's about ski patrol. So I'm used to seeing ski patrol often. When the resort closes, they do a final sweep to make sure everyone is going where they need to go. But when I went to Europe, you're on your own and no one is going to bother you. However, no one is going to save you. And I learned this the hard way. So the whole time I was there, I don't think I saw one ski patrol officer. They're just only there if they have to be. The ski patrollers kind of take their own approach, do their own thing, and then if they're needed, obviously they'll show up and do whatever they have to do. So if you do make it out to Europe, I have 2 tips. Number 1 is make sure you stay with friends and make sure you stay in a group, because if you see ski patrol, it's because you got hurt and you really don't want that to happen. Number 2, don't go farther than you think you can. Now, I do understand beginners want to get out there, start getting a feeling for what harder trails look for, but Europe is not the place to do it. Ski patrol is not going to be just casually riding by. They're going to only come if they have to. So if you don't see any ski patrol on your whole entire trip to Europe, that's a good thing. Number 5. Off-piste is a completely different ballgame in Europe than it is compared to anywhere else. If you don't know what off-piste is, it basically just means that you're going on a trail at your own risk. Not necessarily meaning that it's not safe, but it wasn't groomed and they didn't check for big sticks or rocks. Off-piste could mean that it's the entire side of the mountain. So you're kind of doing your own thing, ski patrol's not there, and you can go as far wide as you want, straight down the mountain, whatever you want to do, as long as you feel comfortable. In Europe, off-piste is way more common than you would ever see in the US or Canada. It's less monitored, but way more available. So you'll see off-piste trails that you think are green trails, but just be careful, because no, it wasn't groomed or checked for any debris. Off-piste is definitely huge in the European culture. If you decide to go off-piste, be careful. It's not hard to find, but it is less monitored than the average trails. Number 6. This is the last thing that I did not know once I got to Europe, is that lunch is a part of the day. Now, obviously every ski resort has lunch, but in Europe they do it a lot different. Instead of getting hamburgers, chicken tenders, grab and go foods, you're getting restaurant quality foods no matter where you go. You'll usually find a restaurant at every other lift at the top or bottom, so there's many scattered around the mountain. It won't be hard to find them, although they do have a smaller capacity. Instead of a few big lodges around the resort, you probably have about 15 to 20 smaller restaurants. And the restaurants on the mountain are just like a normal restaurant. You'll go inside, take off your coat, order your food, maybe even have a glass of wine, and it'll probably take an hour, maybe 2. So just know when you go to Europe that lunch is a big part of the day, and if you're looking for a grab and go food, you're gonna offend the Europeans, so don't even ask. You might be able to find burgers or chicken tenders, but it would be at a restaurant and you sit down and order from a menu. So yeah, this was my experience of snowboarding in Europe and the biggest things that caught me off guard. Again, none of these are bad, they're just something I wish I knew before I got there. If anything, the experience in Europe is even cooler if you know how it works. But if you go in blind, it could definitely throw you off. So if you're planning on heading out to Europe, I hope this video helps you and prepares you to have as much fun as you possibly can. If you've ever been to Europe, let me know which one surprised you the most. Alrighty guys, I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like and subscribe.